an energetic Wednesday in the Woody with head coach Ryan Day and some Buckeyes in the anticipation and build up to number 2 Ohio State versus number 5 Indiana. Yes, I said energetic despite the obvious elephant in the room. We have to address it. Ryan Day was forced to address it, and he did address it, Tim. That's Tim A, the 41-year vet, by the way. We're not going to waste any time, though. Seth McLaughlin officially, according to Ryan Day, out for the season, tore his Achilles on what Ryan Day described as a non-contact injury. Carson Hinsman will take over as the starting center. Austin Sareveld will take over as a starting left guard. I did ask Ryan Day about what made them go directly to Austin rather than opening it up for a couple days of practice. He likes what Austin's done in practice. They like what Carson gave them last year. They wanted a little bit more. Now they're back to that now that Seth McLaughlin's out. But that is the biggest news of the night. Other news and notes before we get into it. Don't mean to hog this, Tim.
It sounds like you are, though.
Will Kazmarek looks like he'll be ready to play, is what Ryan Day said, which is a very promising update.
Yeah, the fact you said looks like he'll be ready to play.
Yeah,
that means he was out there.
We thought maybe for the Michigan game. No, it's going to be for this game. But again, Tim, the obvious news of the day is Seth McLaughlin. That is official and a devastating blow. But it seems like Ohio State's embracing that next man up mentality.
Yeah, 2 things stood out. Number one, clearly Seth McLaughlin is done for the year.
Yeah.
Because rarely does Ryan Day specifically say what happened to a guy. I mean, I'm talking about the actual injury. So number one, you got that. Number two, like you and I were talking about last night, how would they juggle the lineup around? I kept going back to the idea of what they did at Penn State. Ryan Day was emphatic about the fact experience matters and experience counts. And one of the great things that happened to this offensive line, one of the few great things that happened to this offensive line this year so far was Donovan Jackson not getting to play in the first couple of games and Austin Sareveld going in there, and you could see him learn almost from play to play, but series to series. Now they've drilled into that depth, in moving Carson Hinsman, who, by the way, started all 12 regular season games at center for Ohio State last year.
Yep.
It is no surprise that they've gone with experience over maybe boosting Josh Padilla almost on a battlefield promotion, for want of another term. The thing I keep thinking about this injury too, if there's any silver lining to it, it happened on a Tuesday and not in like the second quarter on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they will have time to get their act together. Donovan Jackson was very happy with what he felt along the line in this practice on Wednesday. He thought there was pretty good cohesion there. And that has to do with Carson Hinsman picking up where he left off last year and his practice, obviously at center, and Austin Sareveld having played for Donovan Jackson. But, we'll see on Saturday. Saturday will be the proof against a defense that likes to mess with the offensive line.
They certainly do. After Ryan Day confirmed the Seth McLaughlin injury, he had this to say. I'll just go ahead and read it. And then go to lettermenrow.com. You can see the full thing. Certainly nobody cares, meaning like it's a nobody cares mentality. They have to have next man up. We'll make adjustments. We'll move Carson to center and Austin in there to left guard. Those guys were in today and had a very good practice, a very spirited practice. Will Howard did a good job when he went down yesterday and even today. Excited for those guys to get in there and have a great game. It's a great opportunity for those guys now. They've played a lot of football. We've won a lot of games with Carson at center and Austin has played. That is a direct correlation, Tim. Like you said, they went with experience. They're going with experience. There's no point in throwing cold water onto Josh Padilla, who's played, I think, 20-some snaps in his career.
But had 3 good snaps on Saturday.
Yeah, Ryan Day said he really liked Padilla's 3 reps against Northwestern.
Yeah.
They chart every single rep.
Yeah.
He liked them. I don't think he liked them enough to trust him in a top 5 game. Here's the thing, Tim. Now that you know that this is happening, and we can break this down with what we actually know rather than what we think we're going to know, you are now lining up Austin Sareveld, who has shown some struggles this year, but also has shown some promise, between the 2 guys who have played left guard for this team this year.
Yeah.
Donovan Jackson, the full-time left guard, which I guess he's not anymore, but you know what I mean.
Yes,
I
got you.
And
it's a 3 left guard sandwich.
Carson Hinsman, who was just playing left guard and playing it damn well, those 2 are now sandwiching, like you just said, Austin Sareveld. I think that gives them some good confidence that Sareveld won't have any hiccups or anything out there.
Yeah.
Because if he does have something or a question, even in game, he can look over to his left or his right and say, okay, what's going on here? What's the pickup here? I think that helps with communication, and I think that is a big deal and part of the reason why Ohio State decided to go this direction.
But here's what's going to happen. Matt Wilhelm on the Tim May Show this week, we recorded it this morning, and basically in reaction to what had happened, because he was on a team that lost Maurice Claret and a couple other guys as the season went on in 2002, went on to win the national championship, go 14-0. The point is, the world has not stopped spinning because of this injury. But number two, as he points out, and Ryan Day and Chip Kelly and Justin Fry, the coaches that are most close to this situation, know Indiana's going to come after Austin Sareveld in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
They're going to test the mettle of Carson Hinsman making that switch back to center after playing guard. See if he gets back on the bike and rides it. You know what I mean, with no hiccups. So I was mixing my analogies there, but you know what I'm talking about. So that's coming. This is a talented defense they're playing against on Saturday, and it's a little bit of a complex defense. They like to mix and match and give the front five, especially of a team, a lot of problems, both mentally and physically, if they can. So that'll be interesting to watch. But Matt Wilhelm said something else that hits home. These guys are all recruited to Ohio State to play at Ohio State on this level. There's no excuse that I got to get my feet under me or I got to play a few games before I get going. They've all been practicing.
Yeah.
Austin Sareveld has experience. The coaches and Ohio State fans should expect them to go in and play, if not anything else, efficiently, because they've been around. They're in practice. You're getting 3 days of practice being the guy again. So that's what I kind of expect from them. There will be some hiccups, but might not just be them on the offensive line.
So here is the last thing that I'll say on the offensive line, basically 24 hours at this point. Donovan Jackson said that after the Simmons injury happened, they had a meeting with the offensive lineman, whether it was over the phone or it was just a meeting. And I'm not going to have this exact quote, but he basically said you're not here for a free vacation, you're here to play football. They challenged the leaders of this team, whether that's Justin Fry, whether that's the leaders up front with Seth McLaughlin and Donovan Jackson, who have really taken that leadership role in this line. Challenge the entire offensive line, top to bottom, 1 to 14, I think there are 16. You are not here to just be here. You are here to play football.
Right.
And I think that mindset carries into this week. Ryan Day just flat out said nobody cares. And it's not that nobody cares that Seth McLaughlin tore his Achilles. They love Seth McLaughlin. He has been a revelation for this team.
Who doesn't?
But the nobody cares aspect is like Indiana doesn't care. College football doesn't care. The Globe doesn't care. It's still been spinning all day, like you just said. Like, they have to move on. They have to. They have no choice. And so the mentality of this room has shifted since that Oregon game. And I think that will work directly to their benefit in knowing, hey, it's just next man up at this point. We don't have time to mope and worry about what could happen. You have to worry about what's right in front of you. And I really like that they're already saying that. Because today, Tim, if I'm being honest, when I was sitting on the lobby waiting on this whole thing to start, I thought to myself, there's got to be a level of, like, for lack of a better term, depression right now. Donovan Jackson has become a really good, like I said, leader with Seth McLaughlin.
Oh, yeah.
Losing that kind of guy has got to weigh on you. And I thought maybe we'd see an attitude that wasn't, energetic tonight. Huh. And instead, I saw guys who were like, hey, let's go. It's next man up. We got to do this. Like, I know that that's not everything, and I know nobody should take that as gospel and go bet your mortgage on Ohio State, but, like, that's got to mean something. Like, to be able to just say, hey, next man up, we got to go.
Yeah, plus Ohio State's still favored.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, number one. Number two, the first time I heard that line about nobody cares was Tigger Shabola in the spring this year when everybody was expecting him to make a step up and finally grab a job and hang on to it. And the nobody cares means you can have all kinds of feelings in all of your life, but once you step between the white lines, you're on the football field and nobody cares what your problems are.
Yep.
They just want to beat you, and your attitude should be, I want to beat you. So that's what they're referring to when they refer to nobody cares, because excuses, nobody's looking for excuses on Saturday at 3:30. Did you get the W or didn't you? And what did you do to get the W is what's going to be the questions. And this offensive line, like I said, they were all recruited to Ohio State for a reason. But I've been covering Ohio State football, as you point out every time you intro me, 41 seasons, been around a long time. I can't remember an offensive line that has dealt with these kind of problems from an injury standpoint. And I'm sure somebody knows, but I'm 70, so a lot of things go in one ear and not the other anymore.
Well,
but the bottom line was, at Oregon, you lost your left tackle, and Zen Mikowski stepped in. You lost your right guard, Tegra Shabola, for a half, for a lot of the first half. He came back in the second half, but somebody stepped in. That was a 32-31 loss, not a 32-10 loss.
Yeah.
People stepped in there and did the best they could, and that's what Ohio State's looking for on Saturday, is just basically excellence, whatever that means in your realm. Austin Saraveld, Carson Hinsman, whatever that means, they're looking for excellence because you practice every day for just this chance to play.
The only injury that I can recall, and I wasn't covering the team then, since I've started covering the team, they haven't had them. The only one that I can think of, wasn't there a year where Brandon Bowen, I think, broke his leg as one of the starting tackles and missed the rest of the season. Other than that, this team, especially in the Urban Meyer and Ryan Day eras, have been remarkably healthy along the offensive lines. I mean,
knock on wood almost.
It's almost unfathomable how healthy they were. And so it's caught up to them.
Yeah, because I kept Will Kazmarek as part of the offensive line. You know,
I was going to ask you.
From one play to the next.
We're going to get out of here. First, I'm going to do this, Tim. If you want to come see the new look offensive line for Ohio State, go to gametime.co, use the Game Time app. $20 off your first purchase when you use the code ON3, ON3. Use that code, get $20 off your first purchase in the Game Time app or at gametime.co. You can use the Game Time Picks feature to sort through tickets a lot easier. You can also do the price match. We know we've talked about it before. Buy a ticket on Game Time, find a ticket in the same row, same section for cheaper. They'll refund you 110% the difference at Game Time. It's a pretty good little thing they got going. If you want to go see the Buckeyes this week against Indiana, tickets are kind of expensive, but the shoe's going to be rocking. I think it's going to be well worth it. Go to gametime.co, use the Game Time app, use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase to see the Buckeyes.
Dude, Ohio State, Indiana, showdown game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a marquee game.
It's still nuts to say that.
It's the game of the week in college football, which is crazy. That, Arizona State, BYU, and Army, Notre Dame, which, if you told me those were three of the games of the week in any year since like World War II,
to the 40s, baby.
I wouldn't believe you. Tim, very last thing. We don't need to get into it too much. Maybe 30 to 60 seconds here. What is your response when you hear that Will Kazmarek's going to be back?
It adds to their depth. It'll be interesting to see how much he plays because we're still not clear on exactly what his injury was. As I described it, an upper body injury. Saw it happen. Left shoulder. Comes off the field at Oregon, and we haven't seen him play since. So
initially, I thought it was a collarbone, but it wasn't.
But collarbone, they all come together right there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bottom line was, clearly G. Scott has carried a big load since then.
Yep.
But the biggest thing, I think, not leaving anybody else out, but who's the guy who's really come on the last couple of games they've leaned on? Jelani Thurman.
Yeah.
My man. It'll be interesting to see how they use all three of those guys.
And Bennett.
Bennett Christian, absolutely. All four of those guys, really. And because you know that Chip Kelly had things in mind for multiple tight end sets that he's barely gotten into up to this point. So we'll see how much Will Kazmarek plays, but I know Chip Kelly's looking forward to having that full complement of tight ends.
You're absolutely right, Tim. And we're going to get out of here. We're going to go cover the Buckeyes like we do every single day of the year. Tim May, the 41-year vet, been doing it for long enough. I'm Spencer Holbrook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll see you guys back on Friday morning for bold predictions because we're still, we're going to obviously do those.
Who put the question mark on the teleprompter?
Yeah, who did that? Ron will read anything.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, we'll see you guys in the Horseshoe for Ohio State, Indiana. It should be a doozy. It's going to be a banger. We're Lettermen Row, and we'll be there. We'll see you guys over there. We'll see you at lettermenrow.com.